So we do a lot of different methods of communication with the brokers. Communication is one of the most important elements of a good underwriter. We try to automate conditions as much as possible. We are able to review more files in less time.
I heard we closed a loan in 5 days.
We have a pretty firm 24-hour return time. Make sure that you're very realistic with your submissions. Credit is a major piece of the puzzle.
Hello and welcome to Andy Digest. Today is going to be a special episode because we are going to pull back the curtain and go behind the scenes of processing your mortgage loans applications. This operation is truly sacred, so two of our underwriting team leads, Kaye Chapman and Brennen Moloney, are going to give you all the details.
Hi, I'm Kaye Chapman, and I am the manager for the Underwriting 1 and Underwriting Support teams here at A&D Mortgage. I have the pleasure today of being here with Brennen Moloney. He is one of our outstanding team leads for our Senior Underwriting group. Brennen, how are you today?
I'm doing even better now that I'm chatting with you, Kaye. How about you? How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Hey, I wanted to know if I could ask you a few questions. I'm curious, how do you communicate with mortgage brokers and the loan officers, of course, during the process of the loan?
So we do a lot of different methods of communication with the brokers and the loan officers during the underwriting process. It's really important that they're informed and in the loop on everything that's going on with their transaction, so then that way they can communicate all that information to their borrower. So traditionally, we just keep in close touch and communication through the approval letter. They'll be updated with very clear updates on the progress of their conditions throughout the life of their loan. Now, when we do our initial setup process of the loan, we will call and email them if we notice that there's any issues or anything abnormal. We want to get in front of them as soon as possible when we notice that there might be some more challenging conditions or more challenging problems with the file. So then that way we can work on resolving those quickly and up front instead of, delaying problems for down the road. And we keep that mindset throughout the life of the loan as well.
You did say that one word that we all hate to hear, and that's challenge. So could you tell me, when you do have a challenge, how do you deal with that with your brokers?
Yeah, so I think communication is one of the most important elements of a good underwriter. But with that said, conflict resolution is another skill that all of us work on developing and improving upon throughout our careers here at A&D Mortgage. So those I typically, again, dive in head first, and we have our underwriting team dive in head first into those as well. So as soon as there's a disagreement, we say get on the phone, have a conversation with that broker, and get on the same page. If they don't understand where you're coming from, then how are you going to expect them to be satisfied with the outcome? On the flip side, conversation is a two-way street, so we need to make sure that we're equally listening to them. Oftentimes we'll find that we might just not be understanding the scenario based on reviewing some documents, but by having a conversation, we can get the feedback and the information that we need to arrive at a solution that everybody agrees with.
I know your background is very technology savvy. How do you implement that here at our process?
Yeah, so when I came onto the team before the promotion to team lead, I was really interested in the new system that we had built, and I was constantly providing feedback on different ways to improve it. So through the collaboration of multiple departments and multiple people both within our team and other teams, as well as even broker feedback, we look at where potential pain points are with the system and we fix them. Some things that we do in particular is we try to automate conditions as much as possible. So whenever there's certain system input being put into the program, we just have the conditions that we need populate. So that way we're not forgetting about conditions until right before closing. Nobody likes getting a condition added right before closing. That never feels good for anyone. But then on the flip side, we're not adding too many conditions because we're letting the system actually do the heavy lifting for us. And then also we've realized that a lot of manual work and a lot of steps that we had to take, we realized that if we program the system just to do these things for us, we don't actually need to click as many buttons. And what that means and what that looks like is we are able to review more files in less time and provide quicker turn times for our brokers.
I heard we closed a loan in 5 days. How do you manage your workload balance and prioritize all the things that you mentioned that you need to do in a day's period of time and lead a team
Yeah, so me personally, I have experience being a senior underwriter here as well as a senior underwriting team lead. Team lead has a tendency to be in and out of meetings throughout the day and working on improving systems and processes, whereas senior underwriters themselves are more so focused on their pipeline. I think that some things hold true for the most part. We want to keep our communication response times as quick as possible. If there are scenarios due to circumstances outside of our control where the time that it takes to fully dive into an issue is taking just a bit too long, we will go ahead and communicate, hey, I'm not able to get an answer right now, but I promise you this is getting looked at and we're going ahead to take care of all of these things.
How long does it take to get conditions cleared?
We have a pretty firm 24-hour return time for both initial review as well as condition reviews. And there are times where, depending on the volume that we experience within the company, sometimes it's fairly easy to accomplish that task. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. With that said, we do a really good job at maintaining that 24-hour return time. And if there's scenarios where it seems like something was missed or overlooked, we say that's an appropriate time for the broker to reach out to us and just ask a question. Hey, what's going on? Maybe something got lost in communication, and we'll go ahead and get it figured out.
What's something that comes to your mind that is a success story that you're really proud of, where you had collaborated with a loan officer, maybe a broker, and it turned out a positive result?
One that comes to mind is there was a first-time home buyer in California. California real estate, unfortunately, has a tendency to be a little bit expensive sometimes, as I'm sure you're well aware, Kay. And you could tell that this borrower was a very hard worker, and we were squeezing out every little bit of income that we could get for him. He was a server at a restaurant, and we're squeezing out tip income and doing everything that we can. The borrower had great credit. We had to pay off a couple cards, and through a combination of half-hour phone calls here and there, we were able to find a way to have the borrower's family actually provide some extra gift funds, and then the broker was able to, I was calculating exactly what DTI we needed in order to get the approval, so they knew what they needed to shop around for the HOI policy to get the HOI dialed in, and then we were able to figure out what to buy the rate down to. So then that way the borrower would still have enough funds to close. The borrower had sufficient DTI for the transaction. And when we first set up the loan, I spoke with the broker. I said, if you want to make this deal work, I'm the guy for the job. We're going to make it happen, but I want to let you know it's going to be a very, very difficult transaction. And he said, I want to make this one work. I said, say no more. And it definitely took us a little more than a month. It was a challenging one, but we made it happen.
What would you say are ways that you could coach brokers or help them with their submission process to make things a little bit cleaner and easier for your team to do their job?
I would say make sure that you're very realistic with your submissions. If you are inflating your income just to get the loan in the door, it's going to create a lot of problems for your underwriter, and it's not painting or portraying a realistic picture of what the borrower actually looks like. So by making sure that there's some additional steps of due diligence to make sure that your borrower is going to have the funds to close the loan, making sure that your borrower is going to have the income to support the DTI for the transaction, and as well having good detailed quality conversations with your borrower and really getting to understand what they're capable of producing for you. I think that's going to improve the quality of the submission, making sure that your 1003 data is as accurate as possible and making sure that this is a deal you could reasonably expect to get to the closing table.
How much do you weigh on the credit history? How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, so within every transaction, credit is a major piece of the puzzle. Based upon, there's certain restrictions that you're only going to be allowed up to a certain LTV or certain restrictions based upon that FICO score, but within that, there's going to be the liabilities that we need to factor into the debt. So we're going to default to hitting for all of those liabilities, but speaking to the last point, if you as a broker have anything in your back pocket about, the borrower's sister actually, he took out this auto loan for the sister, we can exclude it because the sister is the one who makes all of those payments. Make sure you let your underwriter know. It's nice to have those ideas in our back pocket because we always default to hitting those. Now, with that said, credit is we're going to look out for late payments. So we're going to review for late payments, especially for mortgage lates. That has the potential to make a transaction ineligible to proceed. So we're going to be looking for late payments, and then we're going to make sure that there are no undisclosed properties that are disclosed on there. But ultimately, if the FICO score is good and we hit for the appropriate liabilities, then we should be good to go ahead and get the approval.
What about if somebody's FICO score is lower? We're a non-QM lender, so are you able to help them out in any way?
Sometimes, unfortunately, circumstances arise in life where you miss a couple payments, go through some hard times, and we try our best to make sure that just because you made a mistake once, that might not be indicative of who you are in the future. And being in the non-QM space, we want to try and construct an argument to, get you into that home, get the borrower into that home, get the borrower the refinance that they need. So some elements that we look at are traditionally LTV. If the borrower is putting down a lot of money, or the borrower has a strong amount of equity in their current property for a refinance, that is one element that's going to really help get the approval pushed through. I would say LTV is one of the major ones, but then beyond that, we're going to look at, how strong is the income, things of that nature, and things between that. Now, we're non-QM, and traditionally speaking, we have our guidelines and we have our matrices, and we need to underwrite to those. Periodically, we can make exceptions to that if it makes sense. So the borrower has strong compensating factors such as strong income, lower LTV, the transaction itself makes sense, it's very clear what the purpose of this transaction is, they have a lot of assets, they have cash reserves. All of those things are going to help get a deal closed where a borrower might have a little bit of a lower FICO score for whatever reason.
What do you think we can do to help our broker partners develop relationships with realtors that will help them help their clients get into those first-time homes and maybe their move-up homes, their retirement homes?
What comes to mind for me is first begin with your personal network. If you have personal relationships with friends and family, obviously you don't want to be pushing or steering them towards something that you don't believe in, but if it's something that makes sense, especially because A&D Mortgage serves a very niche type of borrower and provides opportunities that conventional financing might not be able to assist with, there's a lot of scenarios where those realtors will actually thank you because they might not realize that non-QM is an option. There's realtors with varying amounts of experience, some somewhat new to the industry and some seasoned veterans who have seen everything. So thinking about the people that you have that you're connected with within your friends and family, I think that there is some opportunity there, and I always believe that it should come from more of an educational standpoint as opposed to a sales standpoint. I don't think anybody likes being, told who to work with or what to do, but just providing the information I think is good. And then as far as, building relationships externally,
it's our expertise to make the loans, right? And it's the realtor's expertise to sell, negotiate, get the house in contract. And what a realtor really wants is for the mortgage broker to take responsibility and get that person a loan, right? But they don't necessarily want to really be involved. So I would say definitely reach out to all the realtors that they know. Let them know that you have a lender that can be their one-stop source for any type of loan, because as you know, we do all types of loans here at A&D Mortgage. We can handle the A-paper borrowers, the conforming, the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA. We can do all those things, but we have the other opportunities for people that can't quite fit into those boxes for whatever reason, right? And I think that probably what they need to do is reach out to their realtors and let them know that if they trust them and they bring their loans here to A&D Mortgage, that we could be their source for all of their borrowers, no matter what their circumstances are, and we can give them a yes on that loan application. And we can do it in great time with your help and your team's help and all the outstanding work that you do.
Well, I appreciate that very much. It's really great to work alongside such an experienced and dedicated team. Very grateful to be here, and it's always an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Kaye.
Well, thank you, Brennen. I appreciate your time. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned. We have much more to come here from A&D Mortgage.